Hey guys, welcome back to Couch Potato Lucha Libre. My name is Tony Chacon, and it's time for some AEW All Out predictions. So we start off on the buy-in with, honestly, the biggest disappointment of the night already. It's Big Swole versus Britt Baker in a tooth and nail match. This is supposed to be a cinematic match for the buy-in. And I'm annoyed. This deserved a spot on the main card. This deserved some attention outside of the buy-in. This doesn't make any sense to me. But either way, I think this being Dr. Britt Baker, DMD's return match, you do have to give the win to Dr. Britt Baker. I think Swole can take the loss and still look good. I think if Britt Baker wins, it makes her look like an absolute jerk, which is exactly what you want in a heel. Next up is a 21-man casino battle royale. I don't know how I feel about this. I really don't. I think that with something like this, it kind of accidentally became tradition, and I get that. I really do. But I do also think that you kind of lump together a lot of the nobodies on this roster, and that's not to offend, of course. You've got the Butcher and the Blade, you've got the Lucha Brothers a piece, you've got Ricky Starks, but this comes down basically to Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and Darby Allin. One of them has to win. Winner gets an AEW title shot. I think, to me, it's going to be Darby Allin. I think that a face has to win this battle royal because of what happens later on in the night. I think that if a heel wins it, that could just be kind of really annoying and really frustrating. Just because the storyline they're going to tell is going to be the same one, especially with Archer and Brian Cage. Next up is the Dark Order versus the Natural Nightmares, Matt Cardona and Scorpio Sky. And why is this on pay-per-view? Why? First and foremost, Dark Order is going to win. Period. Second thing, though, why is this a pay-per-view match? Why is this worthy of being on the pay-per-view? Aside from the fact that Dustin is involved. Aside from the fact that the Dark Order is involved. This doesn't make any sense to me. At what point do we figure out what to do with the Dark Order that isn't, we're just going to toss a whole bunch of random people at them? Which is what's been happening with the Dark Order since, the Exalted One came to be. And in another match that I don't get why is on pay-per-view, we have the Young Bucks versus the Jurassic Express. They didn't mention that this was for a tag team championship match or anything like that. This isn't a number one contenders match. These guys won an 8-man tag team match against SCU and Private Party for a match on pay-per-view. Which, seriously, I would have just done the 4-way tag team match, made it worth something. Because, let's be honest, this one is going to be... It's going to come down to whether or not the Young Bucks super kick Marco Stunt, which they will, which means that the Young Bucks are going to win. I think that this... We'll get into exactly what's going on a little bit later on, but I think that the Young Bucks winning here is the choice that is going to have to be made. And Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy in a Broken Rules match. If Matt Hardy loses, he leaves AEW. This might be the least interesting story in all of AEW. Of course, we all know that Sammy got suspended for some stuff that he said that resurfaced. Cool, fine, thank you. I don't care about Sammy Guevara. I don't care about Matt Hardy. And I don't care about this feud where neither of them make any sense. Sammy Guevara, he's very much stuck in that Randy Orton, I'm just going to take out a legend for no reason. Matt Hardy, on the other hand, is a legend in his own right, but not the way that AEW wants to book him as. He is not that kind of legend. Unfortunately for him, that is Jeff. There is no Matt Hardy there. But Matt Hardy's going to win. Sammy Guevara is going to have egg on his face. You're going to make the Inner Circle look stupid. I don't get it. Really don't. And a Mimosa Mayhem match between Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. The only way to win this match is by pinfall, submission, or being thrown into a tank full of mimosa. First and foremost, this match is not ending by pinfall or submission. If Tony Khan is spending that amount of money on 500 gallons of mimosa mix, which is a lot of orange juice and a lot of cheap champagne. Honestly, somebody's going in that tub, and I hate to think that it's going to be Orange Cassidy, but it's going to be Orange Cassidy. I don't know. To me, if you're building up a really good rising star like Orange Cassidy, if you're trying to take advantage of his whole mystique, which they aren't because he does way too much already, but if you're trying to make his mystique and trying to pull it in a little deeper, you're going to throw him in the mimosa because unfortunately he's got to lose to Chris Jericho. And I'm disappointed. I know that it makes me sound like a mark, like a WWE mark, but Chris Jericho being this close to the top of the card or being in this gigantic prominent feud at this point just screams of we need recognition. Jericho's going to win, but Orange Cassidy should. For the AEW Tag Team Championships, we have Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus FTR. Why are we giving FTR a tag team title match so soon? These guys they're undefeated. Yada. Look, the rankings, all that good stuff, doesn't matter. We've seen this from AEW. The rankings don't matter. And I don't get why people want you to believe that. Creative at AEW, whoever that may be, because they said, there's no writers involved. I disagree. There has to be if you're going to do something that out of the ordinary. But whoever is running creative has really made a mess of trying to get championship matches together. We'll look at that at the next match. But in general, I think that what's going to have to happen here, FTR has to win the titles. Because I think the heelification of the Elite, of specifically Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, happens here tonight. I think the Young Bucks walk in, we get a double super kick V-trigger to Adam Page after the end of the match. Mostly because I think Kenny's taking the fall. I think he's taking it either after the Shatter Machine or after that Spike Pile Driver. It's one or the other. It's you can see it coming from a mile away. In a match that I think is going to absolutely steal the show, we have Hikaru Shida, who is defending the AEW Women's title up against NWA World Women's Champion Thunder Rosa. Now, Thunder Rosa just debuted on AEW Dynamite this past week up against Serena Deeb. It was a really good match, which I think they did a disservice by putting it next to the picture-in-picture commercial. I don't get why you would do that when you're trying to build up someone like Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa has this really strange technical Lucha Libre style, which a lot of people think are opposites. They're not. They're very much the same. But then you've got Hikaru Shida. She's got kind of that Fairy Princess Strong style where she looks very nice, but she can also smack your face into the third row. As much as I think Thunder Rosa has to win this match, and we're going back to what I was saying earlier, that the problem becomes with someone like Thunder Rosa. She is better booked in a week than the rest of the AEW women's division has been in over a year. Not even almost a year, in over a year. We're talking Riho, Nyla Rose, both being champion at some point, and literally nothing for it. I as much as I may admire them, Riho for being so small, Nyla Rose for being the first transgender champion in a major wrestling company, there was something so forgettable about the women of AEW for the longest time. Like, they didn't even have a title match on Revolution or a title change. That's one or the other. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out in editing. Either way, Hikaru Shida wins this match. And it's not because of the smart booking by AEW Creative. If I were AEW Creative, Thunder Rosa is a double champion. We build up our women's division to make her want to come back. That's your storyline. Make Thunder Rosa want to come back to defend her title. She's not under contract with you. You can pull the, oh, if she's not under contract, we can't force the 30-day defense rule, all that good stuff. Just why is Thunder Rosa booked so much better than everybody on your women's roster that isn't named Dr. Britt Baker or Big Swole? Why? Why? Your main event for the evening is MJF challenging for the AEW World Championship against John Moxley, and this one is a mile away. A John Moxley win. MJF is that really interesting, and you'll pardon my language here, that really interesting shithouse heel who, anytime he's on my screen, I want to punch him in the taint, if we're being blunt. But John Moxley is also where they chose to build the entire company around after giving the title prestige through Chris Jericho. Which sounds like the absolute dumbest idea I've ever heard. But it's also not dumb at all whenever you really think about it. Jericho is an easily recognizable name. Is someone who can, will, and does bring in money and people. At the end of the day, though, I do think that if you put the title on MJF now, there aren't enough face challengers for him. You have John Moxley, a long list of blank spaces, and then Darby Allin. I think you have to have Darby Allin win the Battle Royal because if John Moxley wins, you could feed him a face versus face feud. You could feed him a face versus faces feud. Have Darby Allin pull somebody up with him. Have them have a best 2 out of 3 falls match for the title match. Legitimately speaking, you have to build a face here. If you build another heel, which AEW is very good at, if you build another heel, you will never see the end of it by having a heel run rampant and then lose to whoever the face champion is. Most of the time, that's going to be John Moxley. Yeah, that's what it is. Again, I said it earlier, a face has to win the Battle Royal. John Moxley is going to win the AEW World title match to retain the title, keep his longest reign active, and we'll see where we go from here. Anyway, those are my thoughts on AEW All Out. Do you disagree? Do you agree? Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Twitter at Lucha Libre Couch. My name is Tony Chacon. I will see you guys on the flip side Sunday morning with an All Out review. Have a good night.